And what I'm going to do here first, I want to let you know that if you are going to be using WordPress, and WordPress is one of the most popular platforms for creating not just blogs, but also websites, just be aware that WordPress has an accessibility team, and they are always reviewing some of their themes to make sure they're called accessibility ready, meaning that they incorporate some accessibility features. And actually, when you search the themes for WordPress, you can look for this tag, accessibility ready. And as you can see, these are really nice looking themes with a lot of functionality behind them. And so accessible doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be simple or ugly. You can create some really beautiful and very functional websites while still ensuring that everybody can benefit from them. So make sure when if you're designing a blog or a website with WordPress, make sure you look for the accessibility ready themes. All right. So what I'm going to do today is I'm starting a blog post here for a Global Accessibility Awareness Day. And I'm just going to share with you a few tips for how I can make this blog post more accessible. And actually, I'm going to do two things here because actually maybe three. This is a blog post, but it could as well just as easily be a web page that I'm creating with WordPress, because some people do use WordPress as their website creation tool. I do. In fact, my website is created with WordPress as a website, not as a blog. And at the same time, I'm going to be talking about Google Docs, because the techniques I'm going to share apply basically to any authoring application. So they're not specific to WordPress, even though that's what I'm using for the demo. So the first thing I want to do here is show you how to include alternative text for images. And that's really important because some of our learners may have difficulties with their vision. I know one of those learners, that's myself. I have low vision, and sometimes I use a screen reader, especially when my eyes get tired at the end of the day. So when we add images, we're making our content more visually appealing, but we want to make sure that we also add a text alternative. So I'm going to do that very quickly here at the beginning of this post. I'm going to click on the Add Media button. And ahead of time, I've already uploaded an image. So here is the key. Before you add it to the page, you will click on a small pencil icon that appears when you hover over the image in your library. That's going to bring up a window. And what you want to do is look for the alt text field. And I'm just going to put in a brief description of what this image represents. So again, we're not describing what it looks like, right? We're not describing all of the colors of every single letter in the Google logo. What we want to do is just indicate what this image represents. Now, I do want to pause here and just let you know that how you create alternative text is as much of an art as it is a science. However, there's some general guidelines. One of the things is that you don't want to use the words image of when you create your alt text. And the reason for that is that most screen readers will announce when they come across an image. So they will say image and then read out the alternative text. If you want more information on how to create better alternative text for your images, webaim.org has some great information on that. So check that out. And so that's it. At that point, I could go ahead and add this to my page. There's my image, and then by selecting it, I can place it on the page and do other things for the formatting. And so now what happens is this image, if somebody has a vision difficulty and they're using a screen reader, when the screen reader comes upon this image, it's going to describe it for them. So right away, we've made this document a lot more accessible. All right, so the next tip has to do with headings. And headings are really important for two different reasons. One, they're like landmarks on the page. They kind of help you find your place. They indicate how the document is structured, so you can build a nice mental map of how the information is structured. But also for people that use screen readers, they provide additional navigation, because on most screen readers, you can use a shortcut to access a list of these headings. And so that way you don't have to read the entire page from top to bottom. you can go to specific sections of the document as desired. So one thing to note, this first heading here, you'll notice that it actually is not a true heading. And the way we know that is when I select it or I place my cursor inside of it, if I look at my styles pull down, and in just about every authoring program will have a pull down or a menu where you can find your styles. And you'll notice that paragraph is indicated for the style. And basically what I did is I selected the text, and this is what a lot of people do when adding headings to their documents, and I made it bold. So it looks like it's a heading, but in reality it's not, because it doesn't have the necessary markup to indicate that it is a heading. So what I'm going to do is, with the text selected, I'm going to set it back to the normal weight, and then from the pull down menu, I'm going to choose heading level 2. Now this is a proper heading. And as I go down the page, you'll see each time that I select one of these headings, if I go to my style menu, I can confirm that it is an actual heading level 2. And we want to use these in order. So we begin with heading level 1, and we go down heading level 2 to the next level, and so on. So you're probably wondering, what happened to heading level 1? Well, in WordPress, whatever you set as the title for your post, that becomes automatically a heading level 1. So you don't have to worry about that one. That one's been done for you. You just have to worry about the other headings that are on the page. And so if we had a subsection here, and then we were to add another heading below that, for that subsection, we would want to make it a heading level 3 to indicate it's less important than this heading here. All right. And the next tip is about lists. And this is very similar to the headings issue, where this may look like a list to some people because I've included a visual indicator that it is a list. But in reality, a screen reader can't get the full information about this item being a list. So let's see how we fix that. First thing is I'm going to get rid of these visual indicators here. I'm going to select the text on the first item here. And then again, in just about every authoring program, you will find an option in the toolbar where you can create either a bulleted list or a numbered list. So I'm going to make this a bulleted list. You notice now that it's been indented, and so that makes it easier to find on the page. And then I will do the same thing for the second one. And basically all I have to do here is bring it up a little bit, press enter, and the authoring tool usually will format it correctly for me. So why are we doing it this way? Well, when we mark it up correctly as a list, a screen reader, when it comes upon the list, is going to say that it's reached the beginning of a list. And it's also going to let us know how many items we can expect. And then when we reach the last item, it's also going to say end of the list. So we get a lot of additional information when accessing this list with the screen reader that is not there visually. That information is just to help people who are using a screen reader. All right, and my last tip for tonight, because I have limited time, has to do with links. And this is, again, a really common occurrence when I see websites and blogs. The click here link, or the learn more link by itself. The problem with that is that a lot of times with screen readers, you access these links on a list by, again, using a shortcut. And if every single link says click here by itself or learn more, then when we access them on that list, we don't have any context. We don't know what clicking here will do, or we don't know what learn more refers to. So instead of doing that, what we could do is instead select some text that's descriptive and then make that the link. So that way you know that when you click this link, you're going to go to an overview of Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides. Similarly, this is something that you'll see a lot online. People will put a full URL right in the body of the document. And if I were to play this with a screen reader or have it read by a screen reader, you would hear all of these special characters and all these numbers, which would not be very helpful. It would actually be very confusing. So again, instead what we want to do is cut this text, right, this URL, put some descriptive text on the page and make that the link. And that's going to make it much easier to use. Now, I have some additional tips, for instance, about legibility and what you can do to make the text more legible. And then also how to create a table of contents. What I thought I would do, so again, here I'm showing you how to do it in WordPress. But it turns out that whether you're creating this on the web or you're using an authoring tool like Microsoft Word or Pages or Google Docs, those same concepts still apply. So what I did is I went to Google Docs and I created an exemplar document for you. And so as you go through, you will see each of these items illustrated for you.
To access the exemplar document, go to bit.ly, that's bit.ly/gdocsexemplar.